Clonus lace is done with a crochet hook. In the 19th century, it was the most common lace would have been done with bobbin lace or needlepoint.
It really was a matter of life and death to these people to learn this craft. If they failed to do it, there was starvation and destitution. If they succeeded, they could sell their produce and ensure the future of their families. It's very difficult for us today to imagine what life would have been like. There was no income coming from any other source. Their food source was gone, the potato rotting in the ground. These people were desperate. This was their last resort. Cassandra Hand was the wife of the Reverend Thomas Hand, who was instituted as rector here in September of 1847.
She came as a total stranger, part of the British aristocracy, and when she came, the famine was at its height. She saw the suffering of the people and decided to do something about it.
She very quickly realised that charity wasn't going to be enough, that she would have to do something here that would generate an income for the poor and impoverished people who were literally dying of starvation around her. So she got this brilliant idea of introducing lace making into the area.
And set up the lace school. And Cassandra was the business head. And she had all the good connections in the church through her husband with ladies of nobility in around the country and in England. And so she was well able to promote the lace among all of these. And lace was a high fashion garment at that time.
Some of the records I've seen say that about 1,500 people attended her lace making schools held at Bishop's Court just outside the town here. But she must have been a wonderful businesswoman to expand this and to be able to dispose of the large quantities of lace that were produced in this area. And not alone did this become a source of income for local families, but there was a certain surplus profit as well. And she used that profit to build a school, which today carries her name, the Cassandra Hand Centre. But the school, interestingly, was for the education of infants and girls. So I often think there must have been an enormous social change in this area here. Suddenly, from a male-dominated society where the farmer or the farm labourer or the peasant was the breadwinner for his family, suddenly the female members of that family became the breadwinners.
And so you had young children and women and men who had a disability of one kind or another, all making lace. Crochet hooks. The original ones were the famine hooks, which was a sewing needle stuck into a piece of wood, and they'd wrap wool around it, and then they'd break the eye of it to form a little hook. And that was what they used to use. Coming home through Whitehall Street in summer evenings, you would see a lace maker sitting at each doorway in their white aprons, their crochet aprons, making their lace and conversing with one another across the street or from side to side. They used to launder the lace and do the ironing of the lace and present it in the best possible way. And the girls working there, if they showed proficiency, they would be promoted.
The main difference between ordinary crochet and Irish crochet is that ordinary crochet tends to be very similar to knitting, where you do it in rows and make garments, for example, in rows across and back and shape that way. Whereas Irish crochet lace, you make a motif, say, for example, a flower or a leaf. And once you have all your motifs made, you have a paper pattern of what you're trying to make. And you arrange your motifs on your pattern and then you join them with joining stitches, like the netting in between. The motifs came from copying the landscape. The flowers and the local fauna and flora is how it was developed So you were making flowers and leaves of what you were seeing around you day to day, and that's how the different patterns progressed.
The motifs here are, you can see the wild rose, and this is the vine leaf and the grape, and there's a lot of motifs in this piece, and the vine is here, and an old and antique vine is here, and they're all joined by the clonus knot.
Well, my name's Alice Carey, and I do come from a crochet family. My mother and auntie reared us on crochet, actually. It was well back in the years, you know, and they used to walk to Clonus here to sell it.
They're the sort of skills that get passed down by generation to generation, and there is very little books in relation to teaching them, and there's so many variations to do the same thing, and all those kind of the idiosyncrasies of finishing something neatly, joining things together. 3 people at one table can do it 3 different ways, and not one of them is wrong. You have to make it interesting for the younger people as well as the older people, so it can appeal to a wide variety of age groups. It's such an interesting technique